A top performer hits every quota and earns a career-defining promotion, managing the company's largest strategic client. Within months, the account short-circuits. Organizations routinely fall into a specific trap. They identify their most effective, quota-crushing salespeople and immediately transition them into key account management roles. The traits that forge a top-tier traditional salesperson are highly individualized. These professionals thrive on direct competition, rapid objection handling, and closing the next deal. Data indicates this promotion pathway often results in a costly corporate error. The skills required to land a single transaction do not scale to the management of an enterprise-level relationship. Top salespeople are driven by the excitement of new customers and high-income incentives. Placed in a multi-year management role, these adrenaline-driven rainmakers become bored and organizationally dysfunctional. Key account management represents a distinct professional discipline, separate from traditional senior sales. A standard business-to-business transaction involves a linear exchange between a buyer and a seller. Today's major accounts exist within intricate supply chain networks involving multiple stakeholders, overlapping interests, and continuous co-creation. To navigate this, the modern key account manager operates as a boundary-spanning knowledge broker. Their primary function involves designing and delivering the interfaces where the supplier and the customer actually generate value together. To understand how this works in practice, we have to deconstruct the value planning framework and the specific network architecture required to execute it. Understanding this professional distinction is the first step in constructing the architecture needed for long-term value co-creation. Managing a traditional territory requires balancing a high volume of small buyers. Key account management shifts that scale, focusing resources on a singular corporate partner. The time frame expands proportionally. Customers report that a manager often requires 2 full years just to understand their business environment and establish genuine trust. Organizations must plan for a minimum tenure of 4 to 5 years for the relationship to reach its potential. Because these strategies require significant investments and bespoke offerings, operating at this scale is akin to running a business within a business. The scope of this position presents 8 specific challenges that diverge from a standard sales profile. The manager must act as a value ambassador, strategist, innovator, rainmaker, team builder, silo buster, planner, and change agent. Consider the requirement to be a silo buster. A manager must work horizontally across their own company. This means navigating through internal business silos that are strictly focused on operational metrics rather than the overarching needs of the customer. Pushing an organization to do something entirely different generates immediate friction. Getting internal teams to abandon standard procedures and execute a highly customized client strategy requires acting as a change agent, selling new ideas internally to those resistant to disruption. Traditional salespeople rarely possess the intensive project management background and long-term planning stamina required to navigate these 8 distinct hurdles simultaneously. The classic rainmaker is motivated by the dopamine hit of a new signature on a contract. Trapped in the slow, meticulous environment of multi-year relationship management, that individual loses focus and their performance degrades. Efficiency in this role is measured by internal orchestration rather than external persuasion. This shift in productivity requires replacing the linear sales funnel with a continuous, cyclical framework built on value planning. This chart shows the value planning framework. Notice the emphasis on research. Early stages demand rigorous data gathering before any pitching occurs. Moving further, operational competencies like project management and financial acumen take precedence over traditional closing. The numbers clearly reflect this internal burden. A key account manager spends twice as much time on internal alignment and account planning activities as they do interacting directly with the customer. Because of this heavy internal focus, organizations are increasingly looking past the sales department to source their strategic account managers. Employees pulled from technical or operational roles often establish greater credibility. Strategic clients prefer engaging with deep institutional knowledge over polished sales rhetoric. A manager with hands-on technical experience understands the exact limitations of their own company's infrastructure. This prevents the flaw of over-promising deliverables that the organization cannot actually support. To bridge the gap between technical expertise and commercial strategy, A growing number of companies now sponsor their top account managers for executive MBA programs. Rigorous systemic project management provides the foundational competency for this role, exceeding the utility of individual charisma. All of this leads to a significant organizational hurdle. The manager must execute this multi-layered value framework across several departments, yet they almost never hold direct management authority over the people doing the work. This diagram shows the first of two networks the manager must lead. Delivering on a massive contract requires mobilizing functions far outside the sales umbrella, linking research and development directly with finance, logistics, and technical support. The manager has to synchronize these disparate operational departments to execute a highly bespoke strategy, ensuring that every function aligns with the client's specific requirements. This chart shows the second required network, a customer frontline team. For complex clients, a manager coordinates local sales, regional managers, and customer service. Notice the arrows connecting the center to the periphery, indicating a dotted line relationship. In a dotted line structure, the key account manager provides crucial oversight and strategic guidance, but they lack the formal human resources power to hire, fire, or promote the very team members they rely on. Without the leverage of formal authority, driving alignment requires a specific behavioral shift toward authentic leadership. This stands in opposition to safe leadership. Safe leaders in sales management are often risk-averse. They prioritize protecting their own status and compensation over pushing boundaries. A safe leader may compromise team alignment by ignoring rogue star performers, allowing those individuals to chase isolated targets at the direct expense of the group's objective. Authentic leaders are driven by the challenge of making things happen. They willingly confront inflated egos, take calculated risks, and disrupt the organizational status quo to maintain the integrity and unity of their team. If the organization fails to provide explicit empowerment and the manager fails to exercise authentic leadership, the entire dotted line matrix collapses back into isolated functional silos. This brings us back to the initial paradox. Promoting a top closer into a multi-year account role and watching them fail is a failure of organizational design. This chart outlines the 8 success factors discovered across industries to stabilize these massive corporate ecosystems. 2 of the most critical elements are establishing a shared strategic account plan and defining clear roles and goals. A unified, documented strategy acts as an objective anchor. It gives disparate departments, from research to logistics, a single source of truth to align their daily operations. This structural clarity must be paired with trust, transparency, and strong leadership by the manager to function effectively. Effective key account management functions as a systemic, enterprise-wide alignment strategy. To build this capability, human resources and executive teams must shift their recruitment pipelines. They have to pivot away from hunting pure rainmakers and begin identifying deeply knowledgeable, internal brokers who understand how the company operates. Discarding the myth of the lone wolf sales hero is the only way an organization can construct the architecture required to co-create value over the long term.